Ooh, Lord have mercy. We're going to get into it today, people. Welcome back to the channel. Let me do my intro properly. I've just finished listening to the presser. It was a long one, people. There was a lot of round the way stuff, a lot of waffle as well. There was some good stuff, but there was also some confusing stuff as well. This is the presser reaction to Daniel Farke's comments in regards ahead of the Wolves versus Leeds United game, which is absolutely massive. Goes without saying, it's a must win for me. And we'll get into it. It's a must not lose, but we need 3 points at some point, people. We're going to need another win. Keep Wolves down there, get Leeds elevated. We'll see if that happens. But there's some stuff that we need to speak about before we get into it. Yeah, Annabelle, why do I put myself through the pressers? I always tell you guys, if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't be listening to pressers. Quite frankly, I'd have better things to do than listen to the pressers. But I tune in because I know a lot of you don't want to listen to them. And also it gives me the team news and everything else like that. But yeah, it was a tough one today. Very mixed. Very mixed. He was very on the defense today. There was a lot of defending of everything that's going on right now. One phrase that got uttered, I think, at least 50 times today was hard work. I don't think I've heard that phrase uttered so many times in one presser, but he wants you to know that everyone is doing the hard work today, especially when it comes to a particular player as well, which we'll get into. Johnny in the house, yes, it's KG. Yeah, man, what's going on, man? FV saying can't see any other manager, Prem manager talking like Farke. And yeah, hello to everybody. Yeah, so listen, people, this is the presser reaction. Tomorrow we'll come back with the preview where we do the formation and predictions. But this is, you know, going through Daniel Farke's comments. So yeah, Chris, you weren't impressed. I thought our transfer window was bad. That press conference tops it. Yeah, I mean, even one of the questions, it was a really odd one. That I don't even know who the guy was, but he said obviously Wolves will be more hungry. I'm paraphrasing here. Will be more hungry to get points on the board as they haven't won yet. What are you talking about? Like, obviously he could have just misspoke at the time, but yeah, crazy stuff. But listen, before I go any further, super thanks. Thank yous from me, Mr. P, David Lowe, Ash, Cy Harris, and Dave Webster. Thank you for the support and keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming with the likes as well, people. As I've mentioned on previous videos, I won't go into it long today, but it's very important that you like the content for the visibility of the channel. So yeah, the presser felt so championship. I know, but that's what we've kind of got, isn't it? And he kind of went into this again. He's doubled down on a few comments, and Barron hasn't covered them in his roundups here, but he's mentioned again about the not having the quality and everything else like that. And he was asked about it towards the end, and you could see his face. He didn't like that question, but he answered it. I think he handled it pretty well, that portion anyway. But let's get into it, because we do have a couple of injury doubts, some major doubts, as he repeated a few times, and that's Dan James. He might be missing, and Nonto. They've been out of training. So it's very unlikely we're going to see, I think it's highly unlikely we're going to see Nonto or Dan James from the start anyway. We may be looking at them maybe as a substitute in this game. So what that probably means, people, is that we're going to see Aaronson starting again on the right and Okafor on the left, if we're going to go by what Farke usually does. So that is two big blows. And of course, Perry is out for the game as well. So we're kind of missing two first-team wingers and a goalkeeper. But as he said, everyone else is fine. Tanaka's trained well this week, which is very good news for me. He's a key component of this current team. So, you know, if he's ready to start, he needs to go back in. But again, we'll talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, it's kind of a blow. I mean, Dan James was off the pace anyway, but for me, Willie Nonto was more of a, you know, a difference maker in what we've currently got anyway. So that is a shame, but we're gonna see what other options we've got when it comes to game day and the kind of changes we're going to make in game as well. Johnny saying here, Lord help us. Hyru saying, if Nonto is out, I think we lose this game. Where's the goals coming from? Russ saying it's all going Pete Tong. I mean, it's been going Pete Tong since we've been promoted. Let's be real. But listen, people, if you're interested in giving the club even more money, we have some new collections. And look at the picture they've used. Jack Harrison, who he did mention in this one. There you go. Some T-shirts, hoodies. They're like 80, 90 pounds. Get involved. There you go. Keep our coffers going while the quality on the pitch is in the mud. But yes, let's carry on. There was a lot of this, people. There was a lot of this in terms of how we're playing, and he mentioned here priorities to be rock solid at the back. Results dictate the narrative. Good away game, judge it objectively. A neutral would say a draw or away win. Unlucky old goal does not happen. Everyone focuses on 3 clean sheets and 5 points rather than our offense. And I disagree with him there straight away, because even if we come away with a point at 0-0, we still wouldn't have scored a goal in open play. So that narrative for me doesn't go away. Maybe to the more basic thinking fan it does, but for me it's still going, well, that's still another game without a goal. I know we've got a point here, but when are we going to start scoring goals from open play? So I think he's a bit, not naive, but I think he's a bit blind to that, to think that no one else is going to speak about that. It was going to come up whether we come away with a 0-0 draw or whatever. And the club is being run by a bunch of amateurs. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Sakamoto, yeah, I've never heard a manager consistently make reference to having players with less quality than the competition. Great for morale. He was asked about that. You've brought it up now because it comes at the end, and Baron hasn't summed it up here. He was asked about that because he's mentioned it twice this week, and that's what the, fair play to whoever this reporter was, because they really laid it all out and said, look, you've said over and over that we don't have the individual quality. How does it affect the players? Do you speak to them beforehand? Do you let them know what you're going to say, that you're going to say this publicly, but then you're privately backing them? I mean, the reporter, whoever it was, really laid it out. And Farke was just saying, look, I'm not going to make myself sound talking nonsense. If I've said before the window that I need 2 offensive players, I need 2 offensive players, but it doesn't mean I don't believe in what I've got. I believe they're good players that can improve. They need to improve from where they were a couple of years ago. But to say that I don't want extra quality when the window shuts would be me talking nonsense. And he just said, look, I'm going to be honest. I believe they're good players, but there are improvements that they need to make. So I can see where he's coming from his point of view, but man, you've got to know players, and especially some of the players that you're talking about here. Like, I mean, Aaronson should get a boost from today, by the way. We'll get into that in a bit. But Harrison, I mean, Harrison's a confidence player, and he was glowingly speaking about him yet again. So there's always that danger. I mean, he said Harrison hasn't started yet, but he's always in his thoughts from his hard work. That phrase, honestly, it got drilled into this press conference about everyone being hard working. He also disagreed with what Gruev said. I don't know if you guys have seen Gruev talking recently about that second to last pass not being good enough and being clinical enough. Farke almost didn't look impressed with that, I will say that, but he then kind of agreed with him, saying that yes, maybe that last pass could be good, but it's about the final third action. It's about that final pass. It's about the shots on goal and everything else like that need to be better. So he was saying about Gruev looking at it from a defensive midfielder point of view rather than an offensive point of view. So I don't think he completely agreed with that, but yeah, you need to. I wouldn't suggest watching the whole conference because, like I say, it was very long. But there was a lot of mixed messages in this press conference, a lot. And you just feel that anything but a win this weekend, I don't think it puts like a ton of pressure on him, but it would also make you think, okay, if we can't beat Wolves, and we'll get into their team news tomorrow, who may not even have Strand Larsen playing, haven't won a game, where are we going to win another game? So it's one of those where there was a lot of mixed messages today, and as Sakamoto said there, that was something that came up today as well. What else have we got? What we have to improve is our cutting edge and efficiency. If we create more chances than Everton, Newcastle, and 75 minutes better than Fulham, you have to reward yourself. This is my only criticism, and again, little pushback on this. It's a 90-minute game, so yeah, we did well up to a point, but then his changes kind of made us like draw back and let Fulham come onto us with the changes that they made. So it's also about what he could do better. But I'm not going to hammer him for this because we know he doesn't look at himself for any kind of accountability. But the game is over 90 minutes, isn't it? It's effectively what the scoreline is at the end of the game. So FV White saying lose on Saturday. That's it for me. There's a few people that say the same thing. Don't know, Mike, if there's a recall clause. I don't think there is, Mike. It'd be surprising if there wasn't, especially if they had any doubts about changing the manager, but I don't know if it has a recall clause. We kind of won't know until we get nearer to January, where all these kind of things come out. So we will see. Johnny here saying you can tell he's feeling the pressure already. He's all over the place, contradicts himself basically. He's already slyly falling out of players. Now, I don't know if he's falling out with players at this point, Johnny. I won't say that, but you're right. The pressure is on. And I think it's pretty clear from that. I think a point at Fulham kind of does change the outlook, though. I will say that, but you didn't get the point. That's the whole thing. And there's another bit of ifs and buts for something else that he said as well. Darren also saying, yes, Farke out if we lose to Wolves. Interesting people. We'll get into that tomorrow. Daniel Farke, we know as a newly promoted team away, we are always the underdog. Wolves have several years in the Premier League. They're established. They're even more highly motivated in a home game against a newly promoted side. We don't travel with fear. We've shown we belong. And I don't know who the female journalist was, but she also asked him in regards to this, with Wolves not winning a game, does it make you want say you've got nothing to fear, go and attack them? And he kind of like are you for real? Like, you think I don't try and win a game? But obviously he's probably thinking that's what I try and do, although the evidence on the pitch would kind of say something different, especially in the last 20 minutes against Fulham. But he said, of course we're going to try and go and win and everything else like that. But he was talking more about how Wolves are more established in the Premier League, but the facts are, though, what I would just say, Wolves have lost every game. All right, we should be going in this. If we don't think we've got a puncher's chance of winning this game, we may as well call it quits now. So yeah, we'll see what kind of approach we adopt on Saturday against Wolves. But it's got to be more than what we've seen against, I would say, Newcastle and even Fulham as well. I do think that is a must-win game. The questions in the press really annoy me. Yeah, there was a couple of good ones, but then as always, there's going to be some ones where you just think these guys actually went to journalist school or whatever, got a degree, and this is what they can come up with. I know you have to run the line. I've always said it. I'll always defend them in the way, just slightly, because you can't ask out of bounds question, because then they will ban you from it. They'll ban you from the presses. Then you will lose your access. But sometimes, man, they are just, oof. Oh, it's bad. So yeah, let's carry on. There's no reason to be in bad mood or panic. We have 4 points, a first win and 2 clean sheets. Middle of next week, we'll have a clear picture of Lucas Perry's timeline. He's missing this weekend. Carl Darlow will play. And he was asked about Harry Gray, as we know that was going to come up with the whole thing with Harry Gray. And he went on a long road talking about him being a youth director or youth coach at Borussia Dortmund, then Norwich, and talking about replacing captains and everything else like that. I will spare you all of that. Basically, Harry Gray is not in the first team, okay? I'm going to just strip it all away. And he said Harry Gray is not ready for the first team yet. He needs to have more training sessions with the first team. He needs to play more in the under 21s. He will not be calling him up. So do not expect to see Harry Gray on the bench unless we have a crisis in injury crisis, I should say. But yeah, he went on a long-winded answer. And he was preparing for this because he knew it was going to come. I think what I will say with him, I think that he's been looking at comments and reading things more than ever since for the Premier League. I know that he did it kind of when we was in the Championship, but he's really been going into what people have been saying, like the general public and comments that he reads wherever that platform may be. He's been really getting into that in these press conferences, so he's very aware of conversations that are happening. Darren here saying Bulls for Farke, telling me he's the best youth developer. Well, let's have a look. Oh, yeah, there it is. That's what I was talking about. Went to Dortmund. Yeah. Give Mateo a debut ahead of Bamford and Peru. Not easy in the dressing room and everything else like that. Putting Archie Gray right back over Luke Ayling wasn't easy in the dressing room. And we know that why that was. First of all, they're football players. But there was that core of players that were never good enough at the top level that thought they ran the place here. We know why that was. But yeah, let's move on. Because to Darren's point here, you will see Harry once he's ready to play in the Premier League. If I could pick any coach to develop him, I would pick me. And I don't want to appear arrogant. And he tried to say that a few times. But obviously, if you're saying that you're the guy to break through somebody, you're backing yourself. And again, I don't mind that. I absolutely don't mind if a manager backs himself, because if a manager's not backing himself, then who else is going to believe his message? But yeah, he was the one to say, look, if Harry Gray is going to play, I wouldn't trust any other coach in the Premier League but me. So there you go. So we'll wait and see for Harry Gray. Like I say, I put out a video yesterday. I put it on a poll in the community post just to get the temperature of where people were with what we've got, and the fact that this conversation is even happening, which again goes to the recruitment of the summer. The fact that we're going like not even 5 games in, and we're saying, is Harry Gray, what can he do for us? Because DCL, Metcha, and whoever else, Peru's. It did actually, we didn't get an update on Peru, but I'm assuming with everyone else being declared fit, that Peru will be available this weekend as well. Andrew here, 49ers needs to start a short list for head coach if we lose at Wolves. That seems to be a popular thing to say. All right, but I the only thing for me, people, and just talking about that, I don't see it happening. And I'm going by what we've done here, even in the sticky situations that we had in the championship, on the couple of times where it's like, is this going in the right way? And I also now I've got Rangers to look at with Russell Martin and the 49ers own Rangers. If there was ever a time they were going to sack a coach, it would be this week, because the Rangers board, Rangers fans, I should say, they're writing letters, people. They've gone old school. They're writing letters telling Russell Martin, quit. If they're not going to sack you, quit your job. Russell Martin has, of course, said, I'm not going anywhere. So I just highly doubt that a bad result against Wolves, even if we get clapped 4-0, I don't see them sacking him. I just don't see it, people. I don't know about you, but I just don't see it happening. Because with the way they've recruited, I've got to be honest with you, if we had recruited better, I say it in this way, if we had recruited better and he wasn't getting the job done with better players, then of course I can see them sacking him, because it's like, well, we're giving you the opportunity to do something and you failed. Here's another coach that we had in mind, come in and work with these better players we've got. But the fact is, we recruited what we recruited. I think they're ready for a yo-yo. And I hate to say it, because that's not what I envision for this football club, not for Leeds United Football Club. We shouldn't be a Norwich. We shouldn't be a former West Brom. We should be Leeds United trying to head up the table and get, Brentford or Bournemouth from Brighton out of here. But I feel like with the way they've recruited, that they're kind of ready for a yo-yos, which is kind of taking my thing of them having any urgency to remove Daniel Farke this season. Don't know how anyone else thinks, but leave that in the comments in regards to what I've just said there. Okay, so now we're on the Jack Harrison defense. Danny Roll, oh my god. Yeah, I know people like Danny Roll, but yeah, I mean, geez. Right, okay, let's carry on. Because the first defense, there was a couple of cases today of defense. Jack Harrison was one, and here was his portion. Jack is a good player. I really like him. This is why he's been in virtually every game so far. He keeps working hard. There we go. He has every chance of starting and needs to grab his opportunity. For all the players, there is a chance to chip in. Yeah, Nuno's not coming in for this squad. He's not, man. He's not coming in. But Pops does think, no, the longer we don't score goals from open play, he'll be in trouble. We will see. We'll see. Hopefully we don't have to see, though. Hopefully we get some goals and we're all good. But yeah, that was the last bit in regards to what Behrens put out there. But then we've got the Aaronson stuff. So let me just get his picture up, as much as people probably don't want to see it, but here we are. So when Brendan Aaronson was brought up, and I think it was Graham Smith that brought him up in regards to, an end product, because that is what's missing. And look, numbers don't always tell the truth, but as you can see there, 4 matches, no goals, no assists. It is what it is with Brendan. But Daniel Farke said, look, I'm going to defend him here. And he almost sounded like we were talking about one of his sons. Honestly, you would have thought he was talking about a family member with the way that his demeanor changed, his voice changed. He was like, no. I've got to publicly defend Brendan here, because I think publicly he gets far too much, criticism. It's not helpful for the player. He works really hard. He really said that as well. Carry on with me here. It's not like he's not trying to score goals. He's not trying to assist. Those will come. But if I was a fan, I'd be very happy with a player that's working very hard for the team. Of course, he needs to score goals. And, if he's scoring goals and creating chances, creating assists, then it's a different conversation. And that's where I say, yes, Daniel, that's where it is a different conversation, because those things are not happening and have not happened for a while. And this isn't me. If you're new to the channel, I do not have a Brendan Aaronson agenda. If you go back to the championship when he was playing well, I was there defending him. I was saying, look, he's playing well. He might not be getting the assist, but he's getting the assist before the assist. He was heavily involved in the build-up. But then it stopped. And it did. It stopped. Even the running had stopped. Even there was the stats that came out that he wasn't running as much anymore. So then once you take that out, if he's not scoring or assisting, he's just basically running around the pitch for no reason. He's getting in cardio sessions. But Daniel Farke was saying he's doing all the hard work. And yes, he wants to add goals and assists. And if he was doing that, no one would say anything. Yes, Daniel. Yes. That's the whole point. Hard work. This is the thing with what he's saying and what he's probably aware of this team. Hard work is a given. Aguero used to work hard, but you know what? You don't need to say about Aguero. He worked hard because you know why? He did everything else great. So you don't need to focus on when I always say it to you people. Whenever you hear somebody say about a player or anything, if one of the first things they say is he works hard, they're not a very good player. Simple as that. You don't, that is a given with every single football player. They all work hard. But if that is going to be his defining, you know, his defining attribute, we've got a few of those in the team. We've got a few. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, Hyru, he's saying everyone that works hard on the pitch, pick on for your side. I care about can you put the ball in the back of the net or set someone up for a goal at this level? Aaronson and Harrison aren't good enough. And yeah, listen, people, I've said that about not sacking him. But again, you know, these are the kind of things that if you're an ambitious football club and a coach keeps on relying on players like this when you've got other players around, but we do have a couple of injury problems at the minute, it's one of those where you go, he can't keep on doing this. You know what I mean? He cannot keep doing this. But with the injury problems we do have, I think it's very likely we're going to see Aaronson start again. And especially with how he was talking about him today. And again, I've given you just a snippet of what he said. He went on for quite a while about Brendan Aaronson. So if you want to see it, go and watch the Leeds United, you know, press conference video. But he was very, very, very heavily defending Brendan Aaronson today and just saying, you know, keep, you know, there's no point criticizing him in terms of what he's got. He knows he's got to do more. He's trying to do more. It's not that he's a lack of effort of trying to do it, but criticism doesn't help. But I'm sorry, I've always said this as well. When players are doing well, we lavish praise on them. You never hear people say, no, that's enough praise, please, enough. Okay, because you know that he doesn't need any more. But when it comes to criticizing players, and this is not just players, this is people in general in life, isn't it? Whenever you give people a bit of criticism, it's like, slow down there. You could be hurting them here. No. They're in positions where they are because they've obviously done well wherever they've been in terms of growing up in the system, getting to where they are. They should be ready for it. If you don't want it at a club like this where you will get criticism, go somewhere else. There's plenty of clubs where you can just go along, be an average Joe, and maybe 5 fans will talk about it. But if you're playing for Leeds United, there's going to be a big microscope on you, so it should be expected. Pop says she'll pass. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just saying, if you want to get the full defense of Brendan Aaronson, go and watch that. But I understand. I do understand. GTC saying here, there isn't a single player on this team through 360 minutes of play that scored a goal or had an assist that wasn't from a penalty. It's the whole team. The team can't score. Well, yeah, I mean, just on that, he was saying that they've worked on it all week in training. They've worked on a lot of different offensive actions, set pieces, as well as being a big thing in terms of long throws and everything else like that. Trying different ways to try and get this thing going because it does need to get going, people. We're in game week 5 and we haven't scored an open play goal. That's going to have to improve if we're going to survive. And Daniel Farke himself even said that as well today. But yeah, it's one of these things where, that was the other mixed message as well for me that got me with this. But it happened last season with Brendan. He was talking today about Jacob, he was asked about him and, you know, is he happy or not happy, you know, with him not starting because Pascal's played so well. And, you know, Daniel Farke said it's not about the transfer fee, the wages of a player. It's about how they play. And obviously with Pascal playing because Yaka was unavailable for the first game, Pascal's kept the shirt. So it's about if you play well, you keep the shirt and you work hard, you keep the shirt and all that. But that's where it flies in the face of it because Brendan Aaronson could literally have another 10 games of this and he will be in more contention than, say, a Willie Nanto that may have won half a bad game and we won't see Willie Nanto again. But Brendan Aaronson, we're going to see over and over again. So that's the only thing. But then again, that is talking about managers' preferences, favorites, and everything else, which every single manager has, not just Daniel Farke. But that is a blind spot for him in saying that someone whose quality will keep the shirt Nah, no. That's just not true. And Brendan Aaronson is the case in point here. Russ here saying your 3-5-2 shout KG has got to be worth a go, but has Farke got the go, Nadia? No, I don't think so, Russ. I don't think we'll ever see that. I'll be real with you, but I was just trying to come up with different solutions to try and help this team, create something as well as stay solid. But we will see if it will be, worth it against Wolves. Whatever he comes up with, like I say, we'll go into team and selections and score predictions tomorrow. But with Tanaka fit, he has to come back in. He's the one player that gives us a little something at both ends of the pitch. He's sound defensively, but Tanaka is good for a goal, and we've seen that towards the end of the championship year. Yes, this is a step up, but I do think with Tanaka, he has the skill set to step up and score a couple of goals in this division. We're going to need it. He was talking today about central midfielders, Longstaff, Stack, and they all need to chip in with goals, and he's right there. So yeah, Live the Game saying here, any other manager would have sold Gruev and Aaronson. Yeah, and I mean, he kind of touched on this today in the defense of the comments that he's been making about not having the individual quality. He said, look, I felt like he was going to say, I think he stopped himself. I feel like he was going to say, look, if I didn't believe in him, I would have told them like Bamford. I think he was going to say that, but he stopped himself and said, if I would have told them that you're not in my Premier League plans, which again goes to the point of him being involved in recruitment, because for me, you've got to let these guys go. But then it's on the 49ers to be stronger and say, look, we want to survive in the Premier League. We want to thrive in the Premier League. And to do that, we need to generate some funds, get in players that are better than what you've got, and work with them, Daniel. But they didn't do that, obviously, as we know. No point going over that, but just saying, that just shows you he did have a big part in keeping the likes of Aaronson, Gruev, Harrison, and all these guys that are just making up squad numbers. So, yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Mark saying here, Farke will not change the setup. He's too scared. John B saying, you always speak a lot of sense to Michael. Yeah, Michael's a good one, man. Yeah, Michael's a good contributor to the live chat, man. LUFC saying Farke Waffle United. Yeah, it was mad. Yeah, it was mad. Snoop Huggy here saying, I'm beginning to think, KG, that Farke watches the show. I don't know what he watches, Snoop Huggy. I always get that name wrong, but he's definitely watching or reading something, whether it be The Athletic. I have a feeling he's watching Graham Smith. I don't watch Graham Smith, so I don't know the kind of content that Graham Smith is putting out. But he seemed, I've said it the last two press conferences when Graham Smith has given him questions, he's kind of tensed up a little. You know what I mean? He's kind of like, I don't know what Graham's saying over there. I've seen Graham when in the public with at least with his Twitter posts, be very pro Farke. So I'm not sure if there's anything there, but yeah, he's obviously listening or reading things because he's mentioned it a lot this season. Just say that. KG's lost on a sinking ship. We'll do that tomorrow. Live the Game. We'll do what we do tomorrow for sure. Yeah, he's definitely been watching something. So yeah. Just as we come to a close as well, Matt saying here, is it fair to say Farke has not been set up for success with the poor window? We continue to criticize him now, but that's the reality. It is fair, Matt, but he's also had a hand in the recruitment, and also, again, it's a brutal, a horrible fact. Even for, I'm assuming you're a Farke man, there's no attraction with Daniel Farke for the general player, and we saw that this summer. We literally had a shootout with Sunderland in terms of getting a couple of players, and they only had to listen to Sunderland and their manager and go there over Leeds United that went up as champions. You were always going to be on the back foot with Daniel Farke in charge because he doesn't have a good reputation at the top level. That's not opinion. That's just fact. You just look around at the recruitment. So yes, he has not been set up for success. The 49ers should have almost gone over his head and said, look, we're selling Gruev. We're getting some money in. We're going to go and get Philip Billing. Okay, you've upgraded there. I always mention him because I can't believe you only went for 7 million euros. You don't focus on getting a Metcha as your opening signing at the start of the window. That was a Farke signing, Matt. So he had a hand in what we've got, and he hasn't helped himself. But the 49ers at the same time haven't gone over him and helped him even more and said, look, if you can't work with these tools, then you're obviously not the right man for the job. Which is, again, goes to the point earlier about why I don't think he's in danger, even if we lose against Wolves on Saturday. But yeah, Mike here saying here, is talk of support for Aaronson prove he watches and talk Watches the talk on the boards and YouTube. Yeah, probably, man, probably. But yeah. And Russ here as we leave, and like I say, people, back tomorrow for the preview. That's when we get into the team lineup and score predictions. Russ here, the board should have recruited for the club, not the manager. It's shambolic. Yeah, I always say that the manager does have to have a little say, or at least give the green light, because otherwise you get a situation like Nuno at Forest where they've bought in Amari Hutchinson, Douglas Luiz, and he did not want them, and he hardly played them in the game that he had. He made a point of it to give him like 2 minutes here and there. I don't even think he used Douglas Luiz. So you got to be careful of that. But if the manager's going to go that way, then you have a contingency plan in place and say, well, if you're not going to use these players that are better than what we've had previously, we'll get somebody that will. But again, we didn't do that. So here we are. And again, people, we'll come back tomorrow. Like I say, like the video as well if you haven't already. It's really important in helping out the channel. Big up again to all super thanks donators, and I'll see you in the next one tomorrow for the preview for Wolves. Peace out.